Salvete is the Latin greeting. It means hello or good afternoon. We begin our course on the Latin language and the fundamentals of medical terminology. And today we will speak about the history of the Latin language, the structure of our course, the Latin alphabet, letters and sounds, and the rules of reading Latin words. Latin is now considered a dead language, as no nation speaks it as its native language. Originally, Latin was spoken in Latinum, on the Italian peninsula. Through the power of the Roman Republic, it became the dominant language, initially in Italy and then in the Roman Empire. But after the fall of the Roman Empire, Latin gave birth to many new European languages that now belong to the Roman group: French, Spanish, Portuguese, and others. And it is still alive in the form of terminologies in different sciences, especially medical science. Our course is devoted to the Latin language and the fundamentals of medical terminology. We will learn the most important elements of Latin grammar that are necessary for understanding and using medical terminology. Additionally, we will get acquainted with some Greek roots used in medical terminology. Medical terminology includes three subsystems: the terminology of anatomy and histology, the clinical terminology, and the pharmaceutical terminology. Thus, our course is divided into three parts: anatomical, clinical, and pharmaceutical terminology. Anatomical and pharmaceutical terminologies are based on Latin, while clinical terminology is based on Greek. In the first part, you will get acquainted with the Latin alphabet and the rules of reading, pronunciation, and the accent in the Latin language. You will learn the grammar categories of nouns and adjectives, declension, and the structure of anatomical terms. At the end of this section, you will be able to read Latin terms and to translate anatomical terms from Latin into English and vice versa. In the second section, you will learn the Greek roots used in the clinical terminology. You will be able to analyze the structure of clinical terms, determine the general meaning of these terms, and build terms according to their definitions. The third section is devoted to pharmaceutical terminology. You will learn the structure of pharmaceutical terms and the rules for building chemical terms. Also, you will be able to write the prescriptions. Every student can succeed in this subject and in mastering the language of their future profession. So, let's start. The Latin alphabet is the base for many European alphabets, among them the English alphabet, of course. The Latin alphabet consists of 25 letters, 6 letters for vowels, and 19 letters for consonants. Latin vowels sound like their letter names: A, E, I, O, U. The letter Y borrowed from the Greek alphabet, and it sounds as the Latin letter E. The majority of Latin consonants are pronounced similarly to their equivalent English sounds, but you should pay attention to some letters. The consonants P, T, K are not aspirated. The letter L is always pronounced softly. The letter R is always pronounced R, not vocalized R as it is in English. The letter G is pronounced as G, and the letter J is pronounced as Y, like in the English words yes and you. The letter H is pronounced as H, like in the words heart or here. Some consonants has two ways of pronunciation. For example, the letter C is pronounced as C before the vowels E, I, and Y, and the following diphthongs E and O, like in the word cervix. And it is pronounced as K in all other positions, like for example in the word core. The letter S is pronounced as Z between two vowels, like in the word nasus, or between a vowel and the letter M or N, like in the word mensis. And it is pronounced as S in all other positions, like in the word sinister. Then the letter Z is pronounced as Z in Greek words like zygomaticus and as C in the Latin words like cincum or influenza. Two vowels following each other and pronounced as a vowel combination in one syllable are called diphthongs. In the Latin language, there are 4 diphthongs. It is pronounced as dieta. It is originally pronounced as but now it may be pronounced as For example, the word esophagus can be pronounced also like esophagus. Au is pronounced as au, as in English words town, sound, compound, and the Latin example is auris. Eu is pronounced as eu. The example is pleuritis. In the diphthongs au and eu, the first sound is strong, stressed, and should be pronounced more intensively than the last one. The letter combination eu on the border between two morphemes is not a diphthong, so each letter should be pronounced separately, like for example in the word osseous. Is the suffix, us is the ending. Please pay attention. If each vowel should be read separately, 2 dots are placed over the last letter. You can see the example on the slide. The combination of 2 consonants pronounced as one sound are called digraphs. They are also used in words of Greek origin. CH is read as H, like in the word horda. PH is read as F, like in the word phosphorus. TH is read as T, like in the word thorax. RH is read as R, like in the word rhizoma. Finally, let's look at some other letter combinations. The letter combination NGU is pronounced as NGU before a consonant, like in the word lingula, and it can be pronounced as NGV before a vowel, like in the word lingua. The combination T is pronounced as T before a consonant, like in the word tibia, or after the letters S or X, like in the word mixtio. And it can be also pronounced as C before a vowel, like in the word substantia. Well, that's all for today. In the next lecture, we will speak about accent rules in Latin.